Hello and welcome everyone. In this video, we will focus on the aepp new capability of building a knowledge graph. So the documentation, as usual, is available on the GitHub. You have all the dependency and the explanation on how to use this, but we're going to do a demo. In addition to that, I also released an article explaining how I'm building it and what is the concept and the idea behind it. And then we go directly into details. To start on it, I will hopefully do something that is very similar with everyone actually using aepp, is that you import app and then you import a specific module from it, which in my case would be the knowledge graph module. So I will do that. I will import my configuration file that is config app training, and then my sandbox, I will use the prod sandbox, and I'm going to connect instance to set that into my variable. I can use that then, this variable, into my module that has a class called knowledge graph. As most of the app module, they have a class, and if not more than one sometimes. And usually there is at least a class that is very similar, or at least identical, or at least very similar to the module name itself. So knowledge graph is going to be built on the prod, and then I can build the graph via the build graph capability. This build graph capability will take sometimes depending on your configurations of the sandbox. If it is a large sandbox, then it could take a bit longer. For me, it will be super fast, I would imagine, to build everything because it's only a small sandbox that is being used for demo purposes in DMA consulting. So you see it takes 21 seconds. I have seen that it could take up to a minute and a half for very large sandbox. Exceptions are being made if the connection of your setup is actually very slow. Then it can take way longer. I've seen some people waiting for hours to set up, and this is not due to the script itself. As you see, it can run very fast, but it's mostly due to the network because a lot of network calls are done to build a graph through different interface via catalog, segmentation, audience, dataset setup, schemas, and so forth. The capability I'm offering in that graph is not only to build it, but also being able to add additional attributes and predicates. So you can here see that I'm taking a specific dataset ID, which is my dataset for the data analyst website where I'm running it. And I'm going to use block Julian as the new predicate and true as the new value or attribute that is going to be attached to this predicate block Julian. If you are not so much aware of what a predicates and what entities are, I will recommend you to read all of the information I'm providing in the blog post. This will give you more details of what is what and how you can use that. You can do that for dataset, for schema, and also for exact path. So you can build more knowledge and more context. For example, blog Julian, it's my blog, so I'm Julian. This is something that exists out of this definition of this relationship is something that exists out of Adobe Experience Platform. It's mostly contextual, so I give more contextual information into my graph. Then I can export the graph, and by default, I export to Turtle, which is a TTL extension, and you can run that. It will go very quickly, and then you will see that in the graph, not in this, here, where I run my notebook, I have built just 5 seconds ago a prod.ttl setup. Now comes the most interesting part of this video is actually the capability to connect it to an AI model. So for my example, I'm going to use Cloud because it is the one that can run locally and it's very easy to use. So I'm going to do that. If you have other AI models, so GitHub Copilot or OpenAI or Gemini and so on, it's not always possible to connect to a third-party MCP. And sometimes it requires you to build it on the cloud to available through a URL that can be accessed directly through the internet. That then requires different setups, and obviously different setups depend on which cloud server you are going to use to host that capability. So I'm not going to dive into that. I think you can ask AI how to set it up. This is fairly straightforward. Once you get the principle, you just need to have a cloud server that is going to host that applications. So for me, I'm going to have this graph folder that contains everything. And the first thing I want to do, make sure to have is creating these ontology descriptions. This is important because it defines what are the different attributes, the different namespace, and the different type and the different predicate that is being displayed on your graph. So the AI model will understand what are being displayed and what is possible to query via the query engine of the definition. Then, first I want to also tell that if you are doing like what I do, which is extending the existing predicates and label that are available for your graph, you should actually extend here the predicate as well to explain it to the AI. What do you mean by you saying here in my case, log Julian, which may not be always very self-explanatory what it means. Then you can set up your local MCP, and you see that the local MCP is called Knowledge Graph Demo, and then it has connection to a prod that is specified to a specific path. You have also the path to your ontology description here, and then you can have different methods. I will not go into detail here because you have access to that documentation directly into the knowledge graph usage. That if you didn't see what I was doing, sorry, I'm going at the end of the page for the knowledge graph, and here there is a little link you can click, but you can also find it on the repo here. And here you can go directly and it tells you how to build a graph. You see there is a CLI approach, how you can build that, and the notebook approach, and then how to prepare for usage. So there is an example, exactly what I'm showing you, local MCPs, everything is described here. So instead of me reading through that, I think you can read it yourself. It's not that complex, and you can use that directly. And then you can see I have done the setup for Claude, ChatGPT, and then you can also use Gemini if needed. And I think there is additional capability for AI model that are available. Feel free to also comment, add, or do a pull request to extend that capability for more AI model. I'm just doing it as a quick start for everyone to get started. So I have done my local MCP. And then the next thing I need to do is actually go to Cloud. And in the file settings, in the developer, you see I have some of my MCP, and I have created this IP demo graph here that we're going to see. To add this, you will need to do the edit config button here. And this will actually show you something similar than this. It may or may not be that you are already having MCP server defined. If not, you need to add this key and then add these elements directly inside that key. So the MCP server you want to create is actually, for me, it's IP demo graph. And I'm telling the AI model, say, please use Python, and then use it with this for this specific file. And this will actually load and create the MCP depending on that data. So I have already done that as a preparation. So now I can actually query my Claude and say, okay, can you check if you have access to the IP demo graph? I copy paste this. It's trying to find the tools. It's listing the graph. They say, yes, I have access. It's prod. It's PyQL, and here are the available operations. Okay, and now we can actually ask me what are the available entities in that graph, the main one only. And then I can ask him. It will actually run as PyQL, it get the schemas and get the one, and here it's telling me, okay, these are all of the XDM paths available. This is the number of field group you have, number of data set, the ingestion flow, the data type, the audience, the destination flows, the identity namespace that are linked in the sandbox. Okay, and that's fine. Is there a data set linked to block Julian predicate? And here I can say, yeah, actually, probably there is. It will actually, yes, there is actually one dataset that is linked by, okay, that's then it can confirm saying this is what, this is the number of row it has, it's vulnerable for profile with 718. And then it's also using the Unified Identity Service and the Unified Profile Store. It's implement this actual schema. Can you tell me the paths in that schema? And then you can go on and on and on and ask if he has an audience that are using this path and so forth. So this is the idea how now you have actually an AI assistant that telling you about your implementation of the IP implementation that you have set up in your sandbox. You can actually ask a lot of things that are available. I put some use cases in the article. I'm pretty sure there are way more than the 3 or 4 I set up just to get you started. I imagine you can query a lot of things. I'm using it now very regularly for my customer as I want to set up everything, or I want to make sure things are set up correctly. Then I can do that. So this was the video. I will not go through the CLI then because it's already in the documentation. I think the idea is fairly simple to use via the CLI. I hope this was helpful. I try to stay very efficient. If you have any question, feel free to do in the comments. Have a great day.